welcome to the 9642 Podcast. This is your host, Mr. NumberNine.
And this is The Fool.
This is where me and The Fool give our
Unqualified and unrequested
ramblings on the various issues in the world of sport.
or something like that.
Hello everyone, welcome back to our bread and butter. I promise we're going to talk about football today.
Yeah.
European-ish football.
Yeah. Sort of. Well,
I know
yes.
we did our end of the European season roundup, but it was before the UEFA Conference League and also the UEFA Champions League had ended.
Yeah.
So we have to give some snaps to Chelsea, who
Yeah.
totally unexpectedly somehow won.
totally unexpectedly. I mean, they tried to lose it for a bit there.
They did. Anthony almost managed to sink the hopes of West London, but Chelsea suddenly went, oh yes, we're Chelsea, remember?
Yeah. I think it just showed the difference as the game went on. Chelsea were just stronger, and Real Betis unfortunately sort of ran out of steam. And yeah.
I think very much so, because they look like a really tired team, whereas Chelsea could just pull out so many good players from the bench.
Yeah.
Over and over, and like just showing the real power of the Premier League. And yeah, I think this was where, like, you and I had this discussion where we think the Conference League just shouldn't have English teams.
Yeah.
I like in this scenario we wouldn't have Betis either, but like this is like when the Conference League was won by Olympiacos last year. That was like I think you and I both said, yeah, that seems about right. Clubs like Olympiacos, Galatasaray, they should be winning.
Yeah.
They should be competing for / winning the Conference League, not like what is it? Like Chelsea are a bona fide European giant. Like they've won multiple European cups, and they've won every European trophy now.
Yeah, exactly. We've collected the set. Every European trophy we have.
And Manchester United will be the second club to do that. Somehow next year, because we're going to win the League Cup and finish 17th. But speaking of the other European final, the lesser, PSG finally winning the Champions League, breaking the duck for both them and France. France never not winning a Champions League since Marseille, and that one is sort of tainted because Marseille that season got indicted for match fixing.
Yeah.
Not that there was any evidence that they fixed games in Europe, but they were relegated and not allowed to defend their title.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's as much a stain on French football as it is a moment of celebration.
Yeah, exactly.
This one, and like, you know, it could, like, they have currently won it without any sort of controversy whatsoever, right? Like, there's nothing controversial at all about a plucky underdog like PSG beating perennial European giants like Inter Milan.
Yeah.
Right. Wait, no. The script says it's different.
Other way around. I think it is.
What do you mean? Inter had less, almost 1/3 the budget of PSG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think of, really, but yeah. But yeah, PSG finally made good on their billions and billions of player squad, really.
Yeah. They've arguably, like, and it wasn't even their, like, they've changed their format from Galacticos North to being the more youth team oriented, but it's not like they got these youth team these young players on the cheap or brought them in from their academy. There are some, obviously, from their youth system, but they're basically gone through and bought a lot of really good youth players from other French teams.
Yeah.
And then they've done the Bayern Munich model, right? Like, if we're gonna be unkind to Bayern Munich, and yes, I am totally happy to do that.
Yes.
And they spent like close to like $100 million on a player like uh, who they sold to Manchester City, Mamouche,
Oh yes.
and he was just sitting the bench. Like, Inter can't afford to have a $100 million player sit the bench.
Yeah, exactly.
If Inter's got $100 million player in their squad, it's because they've sold $100 million worth of players that
Yeah.
window,
Yeah, exactly.
and that's just how it is. So this is the thing. So, well, of course, congratulations to PSG,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like great for French football. We have to remember, like, yeah, this is what it is. Like, it's a very rich club, and they are basically, a sports washing enterprise. Hence why they can just throw money at it. Like there's certain clubs where it doesn't matter if the club is not profitable, right? Manchester City is one of them. Like, to the owners, it's important from a PSR perspective,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's not important. Like, it's not important to Red Bull that RB Leipzig or RB Salzburg are profitable or not, because their whole point is it's marketing for Red Bull.
Yeah, exactly.
They're also sports washing, but in the name of soft drinks rather than um, uh, rather than, like, to get good PR for a dictatorship in
Yeah, yeah.
the Middle East. So slightly different, slightly different.
Slightly. Two sides of the one coin, right? Just,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, Red Bull we will be getting into because they will come up.
Mm.
Now, moving on from the club season, we had the Nations League, that tournament everybody cares about.
Yeah, yeah.
And Cristiano Ronaldo leads Portugal to another trophy. This is their third international trophy for
Yeah.
Cristiano. So he's won the European Cup. So he's actually won the proper European Cup,
Yeah.
and he's also won the two Nations Leagues. So the
Mhm.
Portugal have the most now. He
Yeah.
gets ever closer to his goal of 1,000 career goals, senior career goals. Um, I believe currently he's got about 572. Sorry, not 500. About 800 career goals in from 1,062 games. What an incredible achievement that is!
Yeah.
Um, at club level, and for Portugal, for the senior team, he's played 221 games and scored 138 goals. So he is literally 62 goals behind. That could be done in a season, even. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, that would be an incredible season if you joined West Coast Rangers,
Yeah, come on. Imagine
or
that.
Auckland FC.
Yeah, yeah. Come join Auckland FC. It's a professional outfit. Come
Yeah.
for cheap, score 1 billion goals, and walk
Well,
off
he's
with the-
He's on a free because he's
Oh,
finished
yeah.
his contract.
I was more thinking
And
his wage demand more than anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, sure. But I think eventually he will beg, steal, and borrow for the goals if he has to.
Yeah.
If we were to use the Pele formula where he literally counted almost every goal, including games like he played against the Brazilian army and friendlies and all this other. I'm sure he also counted goals he scored against his nephew in the backyard on his, on the birthday party and things like that. They were all counted. That's why he's got 11. I'm sure if we did that with Cristiano Ronaldo, he's also gotten over 1,000. But he's the only verified player. He's got the highest number of goals of any verified player. So
Yeah.
regardless of what you might think about him, like, that's an incredible achievement.
Yeah. It's
Just
amazing.
having played over 1,000 league games full stop is an incredible achievement, given at
Yeah.
his level.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's amazing. It's crazy to think about more than anything.
So, well, good luck to him. Like, hope he gets to, um, uh, gets to that mark. And I'm pretty sure if he does get there, we'll get Messi get there too. So we'll have two people in there, like the 1,000 club.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Now,
Which
there
amazing
is
figure.
there is World Cup qualifiers going on, but we're going to talk about the real World Cup in this podcast. So we're not going to get into that yet. The real World Cup, which I've totally researched and I think I understand. But I've noticed a pattern, and we've talked about this. There's a disturbing pattern in the force.
Yes.
Like the anti-Spursy effect.
Yeah.
So the last season, Botafogo, the club everybody in Brazil banters with. Like, they are Brazil's banter club.
Yeah.
Botafogo finally managed to not only win the Brazil Serie A, like win a title, like for the first time this century, they also won the Copa Libertadores last year.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
That was crazy. Bayer Leverkusen, literally, Botafogo, and I apologize because I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but they call them the Colos, which is literally the criers. Like that's what their fans, that's what the opposition, like their rival fans call them.
Yeah.
And they were the only club, I think, from Brazil's Big 12 that hadn't won a Copa Libertadores until last year.
All right.
So that was definitely a momentous occasion for them, and they, winning this was their first title this century, and like they have this weird record, like they won one in '68, and then they won one in '95, and then they won one in 2024. So that's real Spursy like record. Like this is a good team, good record, but like clearly, and the 2023. They, at one point, had a 12-point lead in the Campeonato Serie A, like the Brazil Serie A top division. And they ended up losing by 4 points. Like, ridiculously Spursy.
Wow, that is, yeah.
So everyone laughed, rightfully.
Yeah.
But, they won the Libertadores next year, that they did the double. And obviously the club we all loved, Bayer Leverkusen. Now we officially can never use that name again because they're Bayer Leverkusen.
Yeah, exactly.
Like not only did they win a title, they didn't lose a single game.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
Basically all season, and they only lost the final in the UEFA League to Atalanta.
Yeah. Which is just crazy to think about. Like, literally unbeaten in all competitions, bar one, and that was in the final.
These are clubs that have literally, changed how there's the reason why I call these guys Spursy is there's vernacular in local football slang to describe these clubs.
Yeah.
Like that is the equivalent of Spursy.
Yeah.
It's not just they have a bad record. It's like, oh no, these guys are almost defined as a bad record team. And this season, last season, there's in the great nation of Mexico, Cruz Azul, the club that in Mexico it created the term Cruzacular, Cruz Azul. As in, to spectacularly lose again, lose from the jaws of victory. They won their first title this year.
Wow.
And they won the CONCACAF Champions League.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing.
And they would always lose, literally from the jaws of victory. Like, they are not in the World Cup this year because it was only up till last year that counted.
Yeah.
But they will be in the next World Cup because there's totally gonna be another Club World Cup, right? Like, absolutely, no doubt.
Yeah, 100%.
So the Cruz Azul, Cruz Azulicular. Like, it's all Cruz Azul's already hard if you're not from Mexico, and this nickname is even harder.
Cruz Azulicular.
But yeah, they. This is just to give some examples in the football world, and then we have the current NBA two teams that. One of them, the Oklahoma Thunder, managed to draft three MVPs: Kevin Durant, um, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden. All three probably players who will not all three players not probably definitely will be in the Hall of Fame first ballot, and
Yeah.
you could argue they are like generationally defying players. Like they've done things that no other player had done. Like Russell Westbrook averaged a triple double, like as in three double digits assists, double digit points, double digit rebounds for 2 seasons back to back.
Yeah.
And like the James Harden basically broke scoring records. You could do it a season, and Kevin Durant is basically often just the best player in the league. Like he's not the face of the league because he's not LeBron, but he was like basically the best player for a good part of the late 2010s. And they've won nothing with these players. Like um, and on the other hand, you had the Indiana Pacers when they developed and got around to making a good team in the 90s. They came up against Michael Jordan at the Eastern Conference, and then when they got around to making a great team in the 2010s, they came up against LeBron James.
Yeah.
So like, and Indiana is America's basketball state. It's like Indiana, Kentucky, Kansas / Missouri. Those states are where basketball is king. It's arguably basketball is more popular than football in those states.
All right. Yeah.
Those are the places where they just love the hardcourt game. And they Springfield, Kentucky, like just across the border from Indiana, is where they invented the game of basketball.
All right. Yeah.
So so it'd be great I hope the Pacers win because it would mean so much for a place that's genuinely all about the ball. Like everybody loves loves basketball and are really really into it. But I would not begrudge the Oklahoma Thunder. Either way, we're getting a new team winning the NBA title.
Yeah. Yeah.
And currently in the Stanley Cup, we have like the Florida Panthers leading 2-1 against the Edmonton Oilers. But if the Oilers were to somehow manage to come back and win the Stanley Cup, it'll be the first time Canada actually takes back the Stanley Cup since 1996.
Wow.
So almost 30 years without having the Lord Stanley's Cup in its home country.
Yeah. Yeah. This is crazy to think.
Which is crazy to think about. And of course, we have South Africa playing Australia. Like, surely this is the portent, right? If South Africa can beat Australia in a final involving test matches,
yeah,
then
that'd be crazy if that happens.
If that happens, that's just proof, right? That means it's our year.
Yeah, it does. Let's say we're missing the best one, which is that this is where this is all leading, which is it's the Warriors year.
Yeah, it's the Warriors year, 100%. Everyone from New Zealand or everyone from any other country that has no idea what rugby league is, let me tell you, rugby league is the most fun sport to follow. Because, like, I've had this idea, like, rugby league, the fandom is so good and so fun, and the banter in rugby league is just so fun. Because, it's not as big as soccer, and it's not as upper class as AFL and rugby union.
Yeah.
Like, rugby league without the fans is just Temu Rugby Union. But with the fans, I think you understand why they call it the greatest game.
Exactly. Yeah. The fans make it, and especially Warriors fans. Like, just such...
The Warriors, if the NRL trophy could be won by the vibes of a club, the Warriors would win every year.
Oh, there'd be no contest. Straight up no contest. Like
on the power of how good your retro jerseys are, Warriors undefeated.
Warriors, undefeated. Yeah. Can't be touched.
Yep. Actually winning on the field, yeah. We'll get there someday.
This year.
That's
This
great.
year is when we get there.
This year, because look, there's this friend of ours who, like, ironically, she's moved to Melbourne, and she's finally gotten into rugby league, like the one city in Australia where they don't give a shit about rugby league. And she's like started following the Warriors, and she'd be like confident, like, "Oh yeah, we've got a 20-point lead. We're just gonna win." And we're all just like sending a text going, "Bro, you do not understand."
No, you don't understand. Don't say that. No, no.
It's basically the only downside to this potential projection is there is another equally Spursy team that is like one place ahead of us on the table.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, if one of either of us are gonna win, right? It won't be the Bulldogs. Like,
No.
we can just throw that out into the bin. It'll either be the Milk or the Waz.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I grew up in the 90s where the Raiders were good, so... Yeah, like... They at least had some time. We haven't won anything. So
Yeah, we haven't won anything. The Raiders, it would be selfish if you won.
Yeah, exactly. You've won stuff
The
before, it's fine. Sure, it's like... What? 30 years ago or whatever, but, you know...
Yeah. Let us win, and and obviously this means Essendon, who are currently 10th on the ladder, they'll win too, right? Somehow.
Somehow. Yeah.
Somehow they'll make the playoffs. Maybe the but on that note, we will go to a tournament which is totally not going to end up being considered a historical choke by FIFA, right? Like,
Yeah.
everyone's going to one day look back and go, like, this tournament was all... Like, it's interesting to see the teams that are taking it seriously. Real Madrid, Chelsea, Manchester City. Because, like, Real Madrid, when they're just like, look, we want to win the first 5 of these just in case it turns out to be something.
Yeah.
We want to build as the, one of these teams that just, perform at this tournament. And I get Chelsea is sort of in there as well. Like, if we win this Club World Cup, like, that gives us even more legitimacy, because Chelsea still has the rep of, like, they're the Abramovich, rich owner club.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though Chelsea is one of the best run clubs in the world.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Like, like, on and off the podcast and on the podcast, I'm always praising Chelsea's ownership.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
you are.
not what they do outside football, but
Yeah.
like with the previous ownership, but like in terms of running the football club.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly.
I need to separate these two just to be clear.
Just to be clear. Praising the football ownership
Yep.
of the football club. That thing.
So, now I will explain the Club World Cup to people. At the basically, we have every confederation represented. We have 4 from Asia, 4 from Africa, CAF, AFC and the CAF respectively. CONCACAF, the North American Confederation, have 4 as well.
Yeah.
And like the way it was supposed to work is whoever won the last 4 Champions Leagues would win. But if there was a team that had won multiple times, and this will be relevant, then you just pick the best ranked team in terms of... They basically give points and stuff like that, and there's like a huge qualification table.
Yeah, yeah.
Around that. Now, one of the rules is that the continents that have more than 4 slots, OFC only have the 1 slot.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, like, there's only been 1 winner of the OFC Champions League in the last 4 years, because 2020 we didn't have one.
Yeah.
And like the season after, it's been Auckland City. We'll get to them, obviously. The confederations that have more than 4 are CONMEBOL with 6 slots, and UEFA with a whopping 12 slots, and then you've got 1 slot for the hosts. CONMEBOL, the way it worked is you got 2 highest ranked, but there was a rule with CONMEBOL and UEFA that if there was more than if there was already 2 countries from that confederation represented, then you couldn't come in, and that was relevant in the
Right.
Carnival qualification. So, for example, let's just say the highest ranked team. We know that the last four Copa Libertadores winners have all been from Brazil,
Mm.
and the highest ranked team that wasn't a winner was a Brazilian team. Then they can't come in because there's already two Brazilian teams. Well,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
four. So they would get to the next best eligible,
Yeah.
which happened to be two Argentinian teams for this one.
Yeah.
UEFA had the same thing, so we will get into every team. And should I go group wise or should I go team wise? How they qualified?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, maybe even go.
We'll go to the
Confederation.
groups later. I'll just
Yeah, yeah, go
through,
group stage. Go team wise. And maybe confederation. Like, then it.
All right, so I'm gonna start. I'm gonna go through each confederation. We'll go in alphabetical order of the acronyms of that
Yeah.
official acronyms of the confederation. So we'll start with the AFC. We have Al Hilal, the most successful club in Asia. The AFC Champions League is the most competitive Champions League of all the continents. They've had tournaments since the late 60s, but there was a 10-year period where they didn't have any tournaments. So I did a count. They've had about 48 tournaments, and no club has won the record. Al Hilal, the most successful, and they have won it 4 times.
All right.
So that tells you how competitive
Yeah, yeah.
So this tournament originally started in 1967. There was a bunch of 3 of the first 4 winners came from Israel, with Israel being a founder member of the AFC.
Mm.
And anybody who knows anything about the history of football knows that Israel had trouble because Arab teams refused to play them. And for a while, the AFC just did this thing because they literally divided the continent into the Middle East and the other part. And they just said Israel belongs in the other part and North Korea belongs in the Middle East part, so that North and South Korea didn't have to play each other. And they just hoped North and South Korea never made it. Spoiler alert, this didn't work. As 1966 North Korea qualified for the World Cup, and 1970 Israel qualified for the World Cup through the AF. So eventually Israel got expelled and sent to they went on a bit of a wilderness, joined Oceania for almost 20 years before joining UEFA in the 90s.
All right. Yeah.
Where they currently are today.
Yeah.
So the tournament resumed. So after 1971, the tournament resumed again in 1985. So it had like a almost 15-year
Yeah.
period without any championships being held, and it's been held consistently even through the COVID year till year. But they have swapped over. So there was only been like 3 tournaments in the qualifying period, because they swapped over from a spring to fall format to a fall to spring format. So
All right.
the tournament starts after June and ends around May,
All right.
rather than starting around February and ending around November.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's why it was a bit different. So with the qualification, we did have for the AFC, we did have 3 different winners. In the AFC slots, I believe Al Hilal won in 2021. The Urua Red Diamonds won in 2022, and Al Ain won in 23-24. And Ulsan HD were the best placed team because and they got the 4th slot. Now, your question, Mr. Fool, is where is Al Hilal, Al Ain, Urua Red Diamonds, and Ulsan HD from?
So Al Hilal and Al Alain Saudi Arabian.
Okay.
Yeah. Red Diamonds are South Korea, if I remember correctly. And what was the last one?
Ulsan HD.
That's Japanese, isn't it?
All right. So Uruwa Red Diamonds, like that format, I'm gonna give you a clue. Like that generally means you're from a country that calls it soccer. So this is from Japan.
Run away,
And
didn't
Ulsan HD is from Korea.
I?
Al Hilal, you were right, is from
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia, and Al Ain are from the United Arab Emirates.
All right.
So, 1 out of 4 for you over there.
Yeah.
Al Hilal, I'd say, was the most successful club in Asia with 4 championships. Ulsan HD have two Champions Leagues in their record.
Yeah.
Al Ain have been continental champions twice as well, in 2023, 2024, and the Ulsan Red Diamonds have also won the Champions League twice. So we're kind of talking about, these are like the elite Asian teams.
Yeah.
So the Uruwa Red Diamonds, I should say, have also won it twice.
Yeah.
So, Uruwa Red Diamonds have won it 3 times. So they're super elite for the Asian confederation. So these are the 3 that came in from Asia. Next we go to CAF, the most interesting confederation.
Yeah.
We go Al Ahly, who won the Champions League 3 times in the last 4 years. They won 2021, 2023, 2024. Wydad AC won it in 21-22. Esperance, and Melamedi Sundowns are the 2 clubs that were the highest ranked.
Alright.
So, where are these 4 teams from?
Go through them again, sorry.
Al Ahly. Now, Al Ahly are Africa's most successful club. They have won the CAF Champions League 12 times. So this is like the Real Madrid of Africa. Wydad have won the Champions League 3 times, so absolutely no slouches in that respect. Esperance have won it 4 times, and the Melamedi Sundowns have won the Champions League once. But they also won the African Football League, the 1 year it was held.
So they would be. I don't remember the name, so I can say them.
Al Ahly.
Al Ahly, they're Egyptian.
Egyptian. All right. Wydad AC.
Wydad AC. Moroccan.
Esperance.
Esperance. Go with Nigeria.
Nigeria. And Melamedi Sundowns. Remember, I gave you a clue about that format of games.
Who would that be?
Country where they call it soccer.
Soccer, yeah. I was trying to think what country in Africa calls it. Go with South Africa. Just because it sounds vaguely there.
You mean the one country where they call it soccer? Yes. Good guess for the Melamedi Sundowns.
Yeah. I was thinking, is anybody else call it? No, South Africa. Okay.
The one country where, maybe Madagascar, the 2 countries in Africa where rugby is more popular than football. Al Ahly, you were right, absolutely, from Egypt.
Yeah.
Wydad AC are from Morocco, absolutely correct. And Esperance, unfortunately, they're from Tunis. Should have stayed in the neighborhood.
So
they're Tunisian. I didn't say the full name, Esperance de Tunis, which obviously would have given the game away.
Yeah.
So you've got 3 out of 4 from Africa, 1 out of 4 from excuse me, Asia. Now we're
Yeah.
gonna go to CONCACAF. I just assume you're gonna know the countries these are from, so I want you to name the city these clubs are from. Because CONCACAF, you know, you there's basically three countries, right, for you to pick from
Yeah.
where they would be. Um, so the clubs that qualified are Monterrey, Club America, um, CF Pachuca, and the Seattle Sounders, and also Inter Miami qualified um, for winning as they were picked as the host nation team, and they
Okay.
got it for winning winning the Supporters Shield, and also Los Angeles FC won through a complicated series of events, which I will explain.
All right.
Los Angeles FC, Seattle Sounders, Inter Miami. I'm not gonna ask you where they're
Yeah, yeah.
from.
I think I got those ones.
I'm sure you've worked those out.
Yeah.
Seattle Sounders won in 2022, so they've qualified as champions. Monterrey won in 2021. The Club Pachuca won in 2024, and Club Leon actually won the title in 2023, but they were expelled from the Club World Cup because they are owned by the same people that own Club Pachuca, and they were expelled, and there was a playoff between Los Angeles FC, the team that they faced in the finals,
Yeah.
and Club America, who were the highest placed qualifying team
Ah.
remaining. Um, so those two played off, and Los Angeles FC won. Now, why didn't they just pick one or the other? The answer to that is as always money.
Money.
So these are the teams from the CONCACAF Federation. So what city is Monterrey from?
Monterey.
Club de Football Monterrey Rayados AC, if that helps you more.
No.
I'll give you a clue. It is not the obvious answer.
Hmm.
Or it is not. Actually, that was a very unfair clue. It is not the answer. It is not the first city that comes into your head when you think about Mexico.
No. That's where I don't know many Mexican cities. But is there a Monterey? Is it Monterey?
It is. There is a city named Monterrey.
And they're from there?
Yes, they are. Good job.
Yeah.
Where are Club America from? Club America are also famously a club from Mexico that only plays Mexican players or players of Mexican descent.
I'm gonna go with the obvious one for that and go Mexico City.
It is from Mexico City. They're local hated, like Club America are, I believe, the most successful club in the Club America are the most successful club in CONCACAF. They have won 7 titles. CONCACAF titles. They've won 7 Champions Leagues, so they are co-highest title winners with Cruz Azul, who we mentioned before. They're both from Mexico
Yeah.
City, and they're the two biggest they're the two most successful clubs at the CONCACAF Champions League. Next up, we are going to Pachuca. Where do you think Pachuca are from?
No, I don't think there's a city Pachuca. I don't think it's there. I think they're still going to be Mexican. Might keep with Mexico City. It's big enough to have multiple cities, or multiple clubs.
They're definitely big enough to have multiple clubs, but Pachuca are from Pachuca.
Oh.
I told you this was going to be fun for me.
Yes, I know.
So, Club Pachuca, they've won 6. So we've got two of the three most successful clubs at the CONCACAF Champions League represented in this tournament. If Lyon had been allowed to compete, which I think they should have, but well, that's neither here nor there, they have won the Champions League once only in 2023. So they're probably even more Spursy than Cruz Azul. It's weird to think Cruz Azul are considered Spursy because they haven't won in like decades and decades, but they're one of the most successful clubs on the continent.
All right, yeah.
To be fair, they were on 6 probably for ages.
All right, yeah.
So Monterrey, Cruz Azul, and Pachuca, and then obviously we've got Seattle Sounders, who have obviously won the CONCACAF Champions League in 2022 that one time.
Yeah.
LAFC have never won a continental title, but they did win the MLS Cup in 2022 and the Supporters Shield in 2019, 2022. And they won the US Open in 2024. So relatively successful given they were only founded 10 years ago.
Yeah.
In a salary cap league, that's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
Inter Miami obviously only been found less in 2018, 7 years ago, and they have won their only honors so far is they've won the Supporters Shield in 2024, but they did win the regional title, the Leagues Cup, which is played between Mexican and American teams. So
and more
also
importantly,
they have a player in their team that they wanted to be at this tournament.
Yeah, and more importantly, have some players that will bring in the fans.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's Inter Miami and CONCACAF. Next up, we have the CONMEBOL Confederation. You have the 4 Brazilian clubs that I mentioned that won the 4 titles in a row: Flamengo, Palmeiras, Fluminense, and Botafogo. Can you name the cities that Flamengo, Palmeiras, Fluminense, and Botafogo are from? I'm not even going to ask you about the Argentinian ones because you know what city they're from. Boca Juniors and River Plate. I'm sorry, you're not allowed to make a football podcast if you don't know what city they're from.
Now, so Flamenco is Rio?
Rio? Yep. That's your answer?
That's my
Fluminense?
answer. Fluminense? That must be somewhere in the south. I don't know enough cities also. Go Sao Paulo for that. So I think it's probably another city further south somewhere.
Fluminense. Botafogo?
That's probably... Oh, what's the city north? You know... Sounds... Have Brazilians at work. So I'm now going off the sound of the names and being like, that sounds more like the sort of places that are north. With the people that come from the north of Brazil in our team. What is... I can't remember the name of the city in the north.
Palmeiras. So Botafogo, sorry. They think about it. They're considered one of the Big 12, as I mentioned.
Yeah, good point. But less likely up there. It just sounded there. The problem is that I vaguely remember some cities in the north, and then it's Rio, Sao Paulo, and Brasilia. That's my city knowledge of Brazil.
Yep, that's unless you did a social studies project in high school involving Brazil.
Yeah. So I was trying to be a little different. I was trying to remember the city in the north and just give it that one, even though it's probably Sao Paulo or Rio. I mean, that's where most of them are going to be from anyway. So. Yeah, we'll go from there. Let's go Sao Paulo for that.
You're going Sao Paulo for Botafogo. So,
yeah.
And what about Palmeiras?
Palmeiras? I'm also pretty sure that's Rio.
You're going to go Rio for Palmeiras. Okay.
Yes.
So Flamengo, 100% from Rio, biggest
Yeah.
club in Brazil. They're said to have 60 million fans in the country.
Yeah.
Um, the biggest rivalry in Brazilian football is the Fla-Flu Derby. So guess where Fluminense are from? Um, they share the same stadium as Flamengo
All
as
right.
well,
Yeah.
in the Maracanã. So they're
Yeah.
from Rio as well. They literally share the same stadium. And Botafogo play in the neighborhood of Botafogo in Rio de Janeiro
Ah.
as well. Like really close to the statue of Christ the Redeemer
All right.
from there. So those three and Palmeiras, the other club that you said was from Rio, are from Sao Paulo,
All
the
right.
biggest club in Sao Paulo, in fact. The Brazil's second biggest club, said to have, I believe, 30 million fans in the country.
Yeah.
So Palmeiras won the Copa Libertadores in 2021. Flamengo won it in 2022. Their eternal rivals, Fluminense, won it in 2023. And Botafogo won it in 2024. And now, a club that was from the north, Atlético Mineiro from Belo Horizonte, were third in the rankings, but because there was already 4 Brazilian teams
Ah.
qualified, they did not get through. So River Plate and Boca Juniors were the next 2 highest ranked teams, came in, and they're representing Argentina. So bad luck to Atletico Mineiro, but I guess you should have just won. Should have just beaten Botafogo in the finals, and you would have been
Yeah.
at the club.
Just win.
Just win. OFC, Auckland City, not much else to say here. They've
No.
won 13 Champions Leagues, OFC Champions Leagues, and they won all 3 of the last 3. Oh, I should probably just go through a bit of the record of those Palmeiras, those CONMEBOL teams.
Yeah.
Palmeiras have won 12 they've won the Copa Libertadores. I'm sorry. 3 times. One of the most successful clubs, but some of the most successful clubs in the Copa Libertadores will just not be appearing. The most successful club in Copa Libertadores is Independiente with 7. They're not going to appear. Boca Juniors have 6. They're going to appear. River Plate have 4. They're also going to appear. And Peñarol from Uruguay, they have 5, but they're not going to appear in this Copa either. So, South America not missing a lot of the traditional big clubs from around the continent.
Yeah.
Dominated by Brazil, as you would imagine.
Mhm.
Bad fact of modern football. Now, not sad that it's Brazil, just sad that it's not more varied, because it's obviously such a rich continent when it comes to football history. Flamengo have also got 3 titles in the Copa Libertadores, so we're not Palmeiras, Flamengo. They're both basically continental giants, both in terms of fan base and how well they've competed. Fluminense won their first ever Libertadores in 2023. Fluminense and Botafogo won their first ever Libertadores in 2024. So we've got 2
Right.
clubs that have just made their Libertadores debut, but I will point out that Botafogo did also win the South American Cup, the CONMEBOL, the equivalent of the UEFA Cup for South America in 1993, back when because Mexican teams are allowed to play there.
Yeah.
And the Flamengo did win the Recopa Sudamerica, which is what the renamed version of the UEFA Cup in South America is called. So they've done that. Oh, I meant to say, sorry, the Mexican teams, Pachuca had won a Copa Sudamerica. So they've
Alright.
actually won a South American Continental Trophy
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
It's like a big achievement, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's like, but it's something kind of only really, I guess, Mexican clubs can do. I wonder what would have happened if one of the Mexican clubs had won the Copa Libertadores and was like going to go to the Club World Cup. That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
They hadn't won a CONCACAF Champions League, and they hadn't qualified through that path.
Yeah. Yeah. That would have been interesting, actually.
Now, So knowing these rules, I hope you kind of understand why the European teams that qualified for the um, for the Club World Cup are Chelsea, Real Madrid, Manchester City. These three clubs won in the last 4 years. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Bayern Munich. Yep, makes sense.
Yeah.
Highest ranked team eligible. They're Paris Saint-Germain. Yep, makes sense. They've made a final and a couple of semis. Inter Milan made a final and a couple of semis as well.
Yeah.
Porto, Benfica, you're starting to get into, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then, but you know, those are big clubs in European football. Borussia Dortmund, Juventus, Atletico Madrid, and then Red Bull Salzburg.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So Liverpool finished 8th in the rankings, but because it was already Chelsea and Manchester City, and Chelsea and Manchester City were also higher above in the ratings.
Yeah.
Just to say, you know, it's not that it was unfair. So so Liverpool missed out. RB Leipzig missed out because obviously Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich were ahead of them.
Yeah.
Barcelona because Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid obviously qualified by winning, and they're also the second best ranked team in the this tournament.
Yeah.
Atletico Madrid were higher than them, so Barcelona should. But that makes sense because before last year, Barcelona were pretty average in the Champions League. Basically, they made group stages and then got out, you know, sort of things. So that kind of tracks. Benfica came 13th. Porto and Benfica, Porto were 9th, and Benfica were 13th. Juventus were 14th, the second Italian club to show up. So unfortunately for Napoli and Milan, they couldn't get through. Sevilla as well couldn't get through, and Red Bull Salzburg all the way down to 18th place, head through to the Club World Cup.
Nice. Lucky them.
Lucky them indeed. 9th best eligible ranked team to make it. So these are the 24 teams that have made the tournament. Just quickly looking at our groups. Group A, we have Palmeiras, Porto, Al Ahly, and Inter Miami. Who do you like here? Also, I will point out that the transfer window is open for all these clubs to buy players, and I will say if any club happens to sign Cristiano Ronaldo in the intervening time, you are allowed to change your choice.
Yeah. In that group, I think that's sort of made for Inter Miami to be able to make it to the next round. Them and Palmeiras sort of feels like they should come out of that. I mean, any of those four could. I'm assuming. Well, actually, I made the assumption that two are coming out, and not just the one.
That is going to be two.
Yeah. I realized that, and then realized there was a whole heap of groups. So it was possible that they weren't doing as many rounds, but so yeah, it feels a very equal group to me. But I would say Palmeiras top, and then it's sort of half designed. It feels for Inter Miami to come through as well and get an extra game out of Messi.
I think it is the Messi effect. I too am loath to bet against Messi, so I will pick him to perform well and get one of the spots to qualify.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Palmeiras have not been that good in the Brazilian league this season. They haven't been that good they've been really great South American continental level, but they've been like the 4 years before, like, you know, for the qualifying part, but they haven't been that good this year. So and Porto are actually really, I think, really good, and they always have Portuguese clubs just always well run. Benfica, Porto, Sporting, they have the players. They have a good system of getting players in and out, and I think they're just gonna end up with the transfer window, they'll get someone. Like, don't be surprised if one of these Portuguese teams happen to get Ronaldo
Yeah, yeah.
for a season. Like, that would be the easiest way, right? He doesn't even have to take that bigger. And he can have like sign like a 2-year contract and like leave in a year.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, next group, we have PSG, Atletico Madrid, Botafogo, and Seattle Sounders.
I feel like that. I mean, a little bit Eurocentric in my watching everything, but still PSG and Atletico seem like the obvious ones to get out of that.
I think you're right. Look, I would love to see a club like Botafogo or even Seattle Sounders do really well, but we all know Paris Saint-Germain are like one of the richest clubs in the world, as I've just mentioned, and they are taking this tournament very seriously. And Atletico Madrid don't have PSG levels of money, but they're very wealthy because the Spanish league is also one of the big 4 leagues in Europe. In fact, they're the second most profitable league in Europe. So I would pick those two as well, at my reckoning. Group C, we've got Bayern Munich, Auckland City, Boca Juniors, and Benfica.
Alright, well, Bayern Munich top on that. And I'm going to just, I mean, likely is Boca Juniors next, but I'm going to be patriotic and just believe in Auckland FC. And to have some amazing things, and Auckland FC to come second, and then Boca, then Benfica.
Come on, you live out west now. We hate Auckland City.
Yeah, but it's the only New Zealand team. I get to be patriotic.
You have to hand in your West Coast Rangers membership.
I'm sorry, man.
Look, as a dyed-in-the-wool Waitakere City fan, obviously Auckland City are the big rivals, but I would love to see them do well. They're the only amateur club in the tournament, or semi-pro.
Yeah.
In the tournament. Very unlikely that they will get through. I do
Extremely
think
unlikely.
I do think it will be Benfica and Bayern Munich. Like Boca Juniors, Argentinian football is really underfunded. Benfica probably have double, if not triple, their budget and like wage bill. It's being played in America. They will have a lot of fans. But like I said, I think this is the professionalism. The Portuguese clubs are just too professional.
Yeah.
I think I would expect them to get through. Next up, we have a very interesting group with Flamengo, Esperance, Chelsea, and Los Angeles FC. Like, let's just get out of the way. You're obviously expecting Chelsea.
Yeah. So obvious is obvious, and Chelsea to top that group. I think I like Flamengo for second to get out, though. I mean, it could be anyone, I guess, but it feels like it's there. Yeah, I don't know anything about Esperance. Los Angeles obviously is okay, but I don't watch a lot of American football as well, so I'm assuming Flamengo will do better. But
I mean, Flamengo, obviously they're a historic club and they're very storied. But since they won the Copa Libertadores, their coach was picked to coach Brazil. Did not have a good time. Like, if the previous Fluminense, that was Fluminense, not Flamengo. Flamengo are actually pretty good. You're right. I think Chelsea, Flamengo will get through. Yeah. I've mistook my fly and flew. Group E, we have River Plate, Uruguay Red Diamonds, Monterrey, and Inter Milan.
Well, I'm going to put Inter Milan at the top there.
I mean, they have everything to prove, right?
Yeah.
They've just fired Simone Inzaghi, so...
Ooh.
They don't have a manager. That is the big point.
Yeah. That is, I still think, you're talking about, with Boca Juniors and Benfica being, you know, being a big difference in terms of professionalism and the rest, and the Argentinian one's been underfunded. Like, that feels like that goes with that whole group for Inter. So Inter is the European team in that, and it feels like they will
Yeah,
top that
I
just purely because they, as you say, the squad is still a great squad with world-class
with
international
great
players,
play.
and you know,
Yeah,
things. Whilst the rest are not going to have as stacked a team, so Inter
yeah.
should come out of that group easily.
I think if Inter were in a tougher group with like maybe like Group B where you've got Botafogo and Atletico, Atletico
Yeah,
Madrid and Paris Saint-Germain, they would be in trouble. But
yeah.
this is their chance. I know their players will be disappointed after losing the Champions League, but they lost out on the title. They lost out on uh, on the Champions League. They're the banter club at the moment in Italy, but if they win the World Cup, they can
Mm,
pretend that they don't care.
yeah, exactly. And then I had probably River Plate to come out second.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think Monterrey might pose them some trouble, and Monterrey do have a good record against South American teams. Um,
Mm,
but I think River Plate, once again, these are the sort of tournaments. These are like there's a reason why the Argentinians and the Uruguayans are top of the table when it comes to total number of championships in continental level.
yeah.
They pick up their game in these instances.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I agree with you. River Plate, River Plate and Inter Milan. Group F, we've got Fluminense, Borussia Dortmund, Ulsan HD, and Malamudi Sundowns.
Yeah, well, I was going with Borussia, Dortmund to come out on top there. BPB will take that. And I had thought Fluminense, but when you were confusing your flamencos and Fluminenses, and you were saying that fired their coach and everything, so maybe less then? Maybe it'd be
Well,
also.
they did not
But
fire their coach. He technically got promoted into being
sorry.
Brazil coach. That's
Oh, right,
it's not
right,
a
yeah.
job you can really refuse.
Okay, no, fair enough. Yes.
And he got fired from his role in Brazil because they've got Carlo Ancelotti now.
Yeah, yeah,
But but his style was, I think, always going to be difficult to implement for Brazil. He's very much in the school of relationism. He wants players to learn about each other and to build a chemistry, and then he just trains them into designing systems where they learn more and more about each other, so they can implement stuff on the fly on the pitch. It's less about like almost anti-Guardiola ball.
All right.
And like Fluminense, the year they were doing really well in the Brazilian Serie A and winning the Libertadores, were one of the best teams to watch in football. I don't know if they would have done well against a European side with that style and with their players,
Yeah.
but they had good players. But that being said, this is not the same group as Group D. Ulsan, they didn't win Champions League. They qualified. They basically from ranking. Same with Mamelodi Sundowns. Like Mamelodi Sundowns want to get to the second round. They're one of the richest clubs in Africa. Their owner is basically a big sugar daddy owner. Like buys some of the best players on the continent.
All right.
And in South Africa for his team. But I do think Borussia Dortmund will obviously get through. But I think it's going to be a bit of a group of death. But Fluminense, I think, will make it through in the end. Like, I've got my concerns about them, but I think they'll make it through.
Yeah.
Group G. Okay, Manchester City. Obviously, we're both picking them.
Yeah.
Wydad AC and Al Ain from UAE. And Juventus. So, yeah. Bad luck, Wydad AC and Al Ain.
Yeah. So I thought, GG, good luck, hard luck, better luck next time.
anything can happen in a game of football.
Yeah.
So none of us would be shocked if Auckland City made the next round, for example.
Yeah, yeah.
But like the our expected is going to be City and Juventus in this
Yeah, yeah.
this group.
In this group, yeah.
The potential side to look at is that Africa's seasons are differently. They are in the middle of their season versus just finished a season.
Oh, right, yeah.
So that could make a big difference.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
So their players are not spent the tank; they've still got
No.
half a tank.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that could be a little bit interesting in how that all plays out.
Yeah. Like I don't expect Pep to lose, like
No.
obviously,
No.
but Juventus, like you know, it's not a surefire thing for Juventus because, as I said, Juve have had a long season and had meaningful games until the end of the season because they only just made it to a Champions League spot.
Yeah.
So at this point, whereas like I think Wydad FC are still in the middle of their season, so we'll see. But I think I agree with City, Juventus. They'll get through, like our original point. Group H, on the other hand, are interesting. Real Madrid, Al Hilal, Pachuca, and Red Bull Salzburg.
Yeah. So, there's obvious in Real Madrid.
Real Madrid,
Chris.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I actually think Al Hilal might come second in this. Though, as you say, it's interesting. I feel like it's going to be a very close run thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know enough about Pachuca really to... you were talking about them earlier, but, to really have a good grasp on where they're going to fall in. And say Salzburg being quite far down the coefficient rankings and just happened to be the ninth eligible one.
Yeah.
Feels like
Yeah.
they're going to be the worst placed of the European teams. So.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, they have a really great record in Austria because they're the richest club in the country. But as we said before, they're the lowest down the ranking. I'm sure their budget compared to Pachuca's is massive. But Al Hilal are wealthy, like the Saudi leagues, good players. And Al Hilal has players like Ruben Neves.
Yeah.
At the moment, like Ruben Neves, Alexander Mitrovic, and Kalidou Koulibaly, and Sergej Milinkovic-Savic. So nothing to be, and Malcolm, Brazilian right winger.
Oh, Koulibaly. That's where Koulibaly went.
Yeah. So they've got a bunch of very, very good players. Like people like Mitrovic are household names, and Ruben Neves.
Yeah.
Well, and Mitrovic is the sort of striker who can just change things on a whim.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think it could. I am feeling Al Hilal, and I don't think it's a coincidence that the Saudi Arabian club happened to be in a group with Red Bull Salzburg and Real Madrid. I'm not that I'm cynical, mind you. I'm not at all, right?
No, not at all. That's not you.
This is not the kind of person I am. But yes, so I think it's been set up for Al Hilal to make it through. Like I think FIFA would like it if at least one team from each continent made it through to the next round. Obviously, the South American teams are like Al Ahly are in a relatively compared to the European team they have is Porto,
Yeah.
and Palmeiras they Porto might have more resources than they are, but Palmeiras and them are probably roughly around the same level, given how successful Al Ahly are on the continent, and they're like the big club in Egypt as well.
Yeah.
And in but then that's also the same group Inter Miami are in, so and same with Group E, where you sit there going, they've set this one up for to guarantee either one CONMEBOL nation went through, or potentially Monterrey, Uruguay Red Diamonds, they could
Yeah.
get through from. And the Group F, because it's Borussia Dortmund choke
Yeah.
in tournaments like this, right? And Borussia Dortmund are spent.
Yeah.
At the moment, in terms of like how tired they are, so you could easily see one of the teams from like Ulsan or Melamedi make it from there. I don't think FIFA cares that much about the OFC as a confederation, but Auckland City are probably could not have been in a worse group than that one.
Yeah.
It's reminiscent of the All Whites in 1983 being in a group where everybody's literally trying to beat them by as much as possible, because that might be what decides the group.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that might make it because that's what might make that group interesting in the end. If Auckland, I think if they manage to get a draw with any of these teams, that'll be a really good performance for them.
Yes, exactly.
I will take off my Auckland hater hat and just I will tip my hat to them if they manage to do that. If they manage to make it to the second round, that'll be incredible. Yeah, and Group D, you've got Chelsea, who are obviously good, but also a team that can brain fade.
Yeah.
And obviously they are tired as hell. They just played a European final.
Yeah.
They've got Esperance, who are in the middle of their season, and then you've got Flamengo and Los Angeles in there. So, Esperance, if they get a result against Flamengo, and they could beat Los Angeles and get through.
Yeah.
So there's opportunities for the CAF and AFC teams,
Definitely.
Other than Al Hilal, who we think are going to make it through. We haven't picked any of the others, but there are good opportunities. It feels like the World Cup, where every team does feel like they could beat any other, the actual World Cup.
Yeah.
So this will be I'm kind of getting into it. I don't know if I'm into it enough that I will get the zone for a month to watch it, but there's levels, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I will have a look at results, and I will get DAZN.
Yeah.
Why is DAZN so hard to subscribe to?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Because this tournament, clearly everybody's mocking it, and for good reason. Apparently ITV put in a bid of $0.
Wow.
And the BBC didn't even bid.
Right.
And that's when DAZN, who basically literally before the tournament started, had the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Saudi Arabia invest $1 billion into them, and then bid $1 billion for it.
Interesting.
Completely nothing to see here, obviously. It's just a coincidence.
Exactly. Very much a coincidence. Just happened to be that way.
Yeah. But just the sheer fact that, ITV bid $0 and thought it was gonna work. You can sort of ignore England because English sport has a history of ignoring international tournaments until they realize, oh shit, we should have paid attention because we could have won. They didn't go to the first 3 World Cups. England and Scotland could have won at least 2 of those.
Yeah.
Maybe not the one in Uruguay, which they'd had to travel on boat far away, blah,
Yeah,
and all that. And like that Uruguayan team were really, really good. But you know, if they're staying in the continent and they're playing against playing in Italy and France, I'm sure they could have won either of those two. Like they're literally missing out on a World Cup.
Yeah.
Out of ignorance. And like the time when they finally took it seriously, they said like, or when they went to the tournament, they didn't take it seriously enough, and then they lost to the USA in 1950.
Yeah.
So, and like this is what they're doing with the Test World Championships, right? Like Australia and India, and New Zealand take it really seriously. South Africa too now.
Yeah.
And England are kind of like, oh, it's just, who cares? It's about this tournament. Like everybody cares. I mean, New Zealand are probably the only country that cares about the Champions Trophy because it was like the only ICC tournament we had won before 2021.
Yeah.
But you know, it still applies. So we'll see how the tournament plays out. I do think it'll be fascinating, and it's gonna play a huge impact as every season since 2020 has. Like it's gonna be different. Like it felt like this season was normalizing, but it's clearly not gonna normalize because this is gonna play a huge role in how teams like in the Premier League, how teams like Manchester City and Chelsea will start out. Like if they make the finals, I think the final is on July the 13th.
Alright.
And I think the start of the Premier League season is going to be August.
Yeah, must be.
So there's going to be little to no preseason. Like this is going to be their preseason, right?
Yeah, exactly. Effectively.
So I don't know how much they can afford to treat it like meaningful games. Because the whole point of preseason is that you're just getting into the rhythm rather than like fully exerting yourself because you don't want to get injuries.
And it's about just making sure everybody gets a bit of game time right. You get out there, you can try some new people, just check your, get your new signings in, get them run out, get everybody sort of taken out and into positions and used to each other again.
What if Rodri gets injured again?
Yeah.
Like, like it's just one of those things. So I can't. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I know Real Madrid are going to take it seriously, and it is Alonso's first tournament where like he's going to be taking over for from Carlo Ancelotti. So he's going to try and implement his system. But how much pressure is that going to put on him if they don't make it out of the group stage, for example? Not that I expect them to not make it out of the group stage, or like even if they get knocked out in the round of 16, like they draw a club like Bayern, for example.
Yeah.
Like all sorts of things could play out here. But we'll see how it goes. But I think that's all we have time for today.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for listening, and we look forward to hearing you next time.
Catch you next time.
Well, that is the end. Thanks for listening all the way through.
If you liked what you heard, we have even more. 9642 Discord and a Buy Me a Coffee.
Pretty sure it's Buy Me a Beer.
Oh yeah, buy me a beer on buymeacoffee.com.
In both these places, you can talk to us, and we may even listen, especially if you do buy a said beer or coffee. I might still be confused.
Yes, we're easily bribed. All links are in the show notes below.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
This is on YouTube.